Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 151 of the J Situation Podcast. I'm recording this on February 21st, 2023. Man, how are all you wonderful folks doing on this fine day? Man, I hope you're doing well. The weather is warming up. The birds are chirping. Things are blowing up in Ohio. No, it seems like things are getting back to normal. No, I joke. That's not funny. My thoughts are with the folks in Ohio. They have certainly been going through a lot in a relatively short amount of time, and I know events like that are unexpected and difficult. So I do wish them the best. I hope that remediation and investigation efforts occur in an efficient and timely fashion. You know, it's all you can hope for, really. In these events, you had a rail car derailment, you had a foundry explosion. There's all kinds of stuff going on. It's like, and they weren't even that far apart. It's like, oh my gosh. It's like when it rains, it pours. It's like whenever, there's like a hurricane or something on the Gulf Coast, and it's like, oh, now there's a flood. Oh, now there's a fire. You're like, oh man. It's like things seem to happen in sequences. And in this case, in Ohio, it was like completely unrelated events and just really not good. So, my thoughts are with those folks, and I have been following it. I've been following that news, kind of looking into it. It's pretty disturbing. So I hope those folks get a break. Man, you know what? Remember I told you folks I was out with a stomach bug, right? I rarely get sick, but it's one of those things. Little nephew had it, and I got it. I was like, oh my god, it's like little kids are like they're little petri dishes. I tell you what. Anyway, as luck would have it. Man, the PEW Science pupper, our old Australian Shepherd, she got violently ill yesterday. It was so crazy. I don't know what's going on. It's crazy. It's super weird because she hasn't been sick in 6 years. So we were worried. We're freaking out. This dog's, it's not good. So we took her to the emergency room. I didn't even know really there was a pet emergency room, but it turns out it definitely is. But yeah, she's doing better now. I'm about to go pick her up, actually, after I finish recording this. She's been on, IV fluids, man. You ever seen a dog hooked up to an IV? It's weird. She didn't like that. She didn't like the IV. They had to put the whole cone around her head. You could put, it's like a satellite dish. You put on the dog's face. Oh, you hate to see her like that. Put her in her cage. She's like a radar unit inside a cage. It was weird. She's looking at me like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm trying to help you. Anyway, but it's scary, but she's doing a lot better, and thank you all for the kind words. Thank you to those of you who reached out to me on social media regarding the dog being in the hospital. That means a lot. So she's a good dog, man. Aussies. Yeah, I'm a dog person, so yeah, it's a good dog. I'm telling you, she's a good dog. When sometimes you have these dogs, and they're not good dogs. That's a bad dog. But she's not like that. She's a good dog. You look at her, she's like, that's a good dog. She's obedient. She's friendly. She's a good dog. And yeah, you can tell a bad dog when you see him. You look at him, they're kind of shifty-eyed. Anyway, back to the point of this podcast. A lot of discussion and hubbub, really, recently on social media, speaking about the new 556 test host selection for future PEW Science testing. 14.5 mania. Yeah, 14.5 mania, I'm calling it. Yeah, we'll touch on that a little bit on today's episode. I'll tell you a little bit more about some recent field testing we've been working on. I'll talk to you briefly about the Hearing Protection Act. Yeah, that's back. And then I did want to give a shout out to a detective here in the United States that sent me a kind letter this week. I received your letter, Mr. Detective, sir, and that's really great. Okay, so yeah, all this and more on today's episode. But first, a word from my gracious sponsors. The J Situation Podcast is now proudly sponsored by Top Gun Range. Man, I am really tired. I was up. We were with that dog at the emergency room at 2 a.m. Because you bring the dog in. You it's like any other hospital. You bring a patient in. They're busy. And if your patient's not dying, well, there's triage, right? So they're not going to take care of you, so they wait to see you, and then it's forever. We're sitting there with the dogs laying on the floor for hours. I'm like, man, this is less than optimal. So I'm running on fumes, is what I'm trying to tell you. But you know who's not running on fumes? Top Gun Range. That's right, Top Gun Range Houston. If you're in the Houston area, even if you're just visiting, they're worth checking out. That's right. In addition to having a 15-lane indoor range, they have the largest firearm rental fleet in the state of Texas. Man, I wish they were next door to that veterinary hospital. I would have gone shooting. Yeah. You can rent pistols, rifles, shotgun, and you can even rent machine guns. And I know that sounds really fun, but I would add, when you shop for a carry gun, go check out a place like this. You can ensure that the gun you're picking is something that you'll be practicing with regularly. If you don't shoot a gun before you buy it, especially a handgun, you're going to have a bad time. Or maybe if you don't have a bad time, you're at risk of having one. Because man, I find handguns, oh man, a handgun is like, it should be like your best friend. Now, rifles are really cool and really important, but I found that handguns are a lot more personal. Like the way they fit your hand, the way they feel when you shoot them, it can make or break whether or not you want to practice with it. So I find indoor ranges with big rental inventories extremely valuable for my own use. And I've found that to be true my entire history with centerfire small arms. Okay, and that's my honest, that's what I think. And so when I started this relationship with Top Gun Range, I was like, man, that's one of the reasons why I want to tell people about you, because of your rental inventory. I think that's really cool. So yeah, you can check it out on their website at topgunrange.com. You can find them on Instagram at Top Gun Range. Go check them out. Okay, and then also, this episode of the podcast is brought to you by High End Armament Technologies. Someone that has quite the autism with regard to small arms. They're a dealer of exactly that, high-end arms and accessories, significant longevity in the machine gun and NFA games, significant expertise in the procurement and operation of night vision. You got thermal optics, infrared sighting systems, decades of experience, knowledge of the gear. If you're looking for something that's crazy and you don't think anyone has it, call Robert at High End Arms. I can almost guarantee you he either has one to sell you or can find one. That's what he does. He's like the wolf on Pulp Fiction, except like better because he has HK stuff. But he does. They're a great place to call if you're looking to get into rare stuff or machine guns or whatever. Check them out at highendarms.com, on Instagram at highendarms, and they even have a Facebook page, which is also High End Arms. Okay, tell them Jay sent you. And as always, the J Situation Podcast is proudly sponsored by Silencer Shop. That's right. Use their kiosk. Do your fingerprints and photos electronically. In turn, you cut down on errors. You simplify your silencer purchasing process. You get a money-back guarantee. It's great. No transfer fees, no paperwork errors. Just you and your silencer with no drama. It truly is silencer ownership simplified. Created because of the ATF. Also, go to the website, pewscience.com/podcast. Find the links in the show notes to save you some money on stuff. If you buy ammo, True Shot Gun Club out of Arizona, use the code word PewScience, get $20 off your free shipping A-Zone membership thing. If you like Magpul, which who doesn't? They're really great guys and gals. If you need mags, go there, use the code word PSTEN, get $10 off your order of $100 or more. It would behoove you to get free money. You're going to be buying mags anyway. I mean, you should be buying mags every week. Like, what's your mag budget, right? It's like you talk to a guy, he's like, yeah, I'm trying to quit smoking. Why? So, well, it's not good for my health, and I'm looking to save some money every week. Because take that money, buy mags, and use code PSTEN to save $10 off your order of $100 or more at magpul.com. Lastly, it's going off the rails. We're not even done with the ads. Lastly, this podcast is sponsored by Pew Science. Pushing the silencer industry forward one test at a time. That's right. Visit pewscience.com for the suppression rating, the simplest and most accurate hearing safe ratings for your suppressed small arms, based on true human sound perception. That's right. From the entire gunshot, from before combustion takes place all the way into all the combustion is gone, your inner ear response is examined, and Pew Science is the home of the silencer sound standard. 7 sections. The most in-depth and accurate silencer test data and analysis in the entire world. In the known universe. Yeah, check it out on pewscience.com. And you can support this podcast. You can support Pew Science, all the testing I do for you, by joining with a membership at pewscience.com. And there's a donate feature on the website as well if you're into that. And if you're not, and you want to just throw me a solid here, It doesn't cost you anything to rate this podcast with 5 stars on iTunes or Spotify. That would be awesome if you did that, because that lets folks know that silencers and guns are awesome, and it helps to normalize the use of suppressed small arms. All right, 3 topics for you today. We're going to do this. It's going to be awesome. Topic 1, PEW Science testing with longer AR-15 barrels. Yeah. Next up, 14.5. That's right. 14.5-inch mid-length gas specifically. Is that simple? That decision? No, absolutely not. So I'm going to talk about some of the factors influencing that decision. Okay. Topic 2, first quarter 2023, swamped, but it's productive. Yeah. So I'm going to give you some updates on some recent field testing on some current workload and just set some expectations for you folks. Also, the Hearing Protection Act is back, and I just wanted to kind of address that really quick. It's kind of weird. Is it coming back? Probably not, but it is being talked about. And then topic 3, man, this is actually a special shout out. Shout out to Detective D. I'm going to call him D. I don't want to blow up a spot. There's a detective in Kansas, law enforcement officer. He's a podcast listener, a follower of the effort. His daughter made some patches to make fun of us, us enthusiasts and our night vision addictions, and it's really cool. He sent me a letter. I want to give him a shout out. I'm telling you, these are quality listeners, quality people, heartfelt support from all over the country and the world. That's what the effort's all about, man. And we're all learning together. I just wanted to shout that guy out. I think, man, you got to pay it forward to these guys, man. It's amazing, these people. All right. Topic 1 in a time of 11 minutes and 41 seconds. Did that take a long time? Absolutely took a long time. Did you just fast forward and start with topic 1? If you did, that's fine. But hey, I gave you a little background there. Hopefully someone listened to that. 1 second. We don't like the ads. We skip them. It's okay. When I listen to like Joe Rogan, I skip his ads. You can only hear about like DraftKings.com like so many times. DraftKings.com. It's like, oh, compulsive gambler. Maybe. Topic 1, PEW Science testing with longer AR-15 barrels. 14.5-inch mid. Not a simple discussion. As many of you who follow me on social media have seen, it's been a time, as they say. As they say in Texas, it's been a time. I've been having a time with this. It's a euphemism for a difficulty. And a time of doing something. It's a southern thing. And when I say southern, I mean geographically southern. You guys, do you remember when we picked the Mark 18 as the first standardized PEW Science 5.56 AR-15 test host? Remember that? Pepperidge Farm remembers. Yeah. Love it or hate it. Love it or hate it, man. The Mark 18 is a standard weapon, and that's what makes it so attractive as a standardized host. It's in the name. And sure, it's short, it's loud, and it shouldn't exist, right? When you really think about it, it shouldn't exist, but it does exist, and it's everywhere. It's in military hands, it's in law enforcement hands, it's in consumer hands, and by and large, everyone knows what it is. And so much so, they know what it is, like so much, they're like, it's so inside your brain and the zeitgeist that people quote the gas port size, dude. They quote the barrel length, 10.3 inches. Like, why would you even say that? Except for the Mark 18. If you dig deep enough, you'll see that people use an H2 buffer when the gun is full auto or when it has a silencer, and it's not only common to be in that configuration. It's not only common to see that. In professional circles with professional armors, it's pretty much accepted at this point. So when we batten down the hatches, we knew it would be a so-called worst case. We selected it as the first AR-15 test host, and over the past couple of years, we performed some of the coolest testing and analysis ever published for the world, and we're not even done. We're not even done with the Mark 18. And it remains to this day one of the hottest topics of discussion. The gauntlet of competition is super intense. I mean, I would go so far to say some silencer brands have almost built their identities around the performance of their products on the system using PEW Science. That's how impactful the Mark 18 is. And that's the history of PEW Science so far these past couple of years. Now, we all know that Mark 18 is not the end all be all of 5.56 performance. Yeah, we know that. In general, we know that 10.3 inches is not long enough for a 5.56 barrel, and we know that it's crazy. We know this. So we know we need to test longer barrels, right? We know. But we also know that we learned a lot of valuable lessons when it comes to testing on a standardized host. Okay? We learned how the public reacts. We learned how people use the data. And we learned just how much we can learn from such an animal. We learned how much we can learn, right? So really, I mean, it was only natural to pursue another standardized test house when I'm looking at this, and it's like, and when we're doing that, it was only natural to pursue one that would evolve in popularity as time goes on, right? And as PEW Science continues to grow, and as the suppressed small arms state of practice continues to evolve, and that, in and of itself, is a goal I personally have when I pick a test host. No, I don't do it in a vacuum. I don't do anything in a vacuum. From the bolt actions to the pistols, I believe there's an impetus for it all. This is long term. I'm thinking long term. So one of the things about the Mark 18 that's really great is that it's used by people professionally, not just consumers. Some people forget that. There's a lot of people. I mentioned the detective in the intro to this podcast. The dude's a law enforcement officer. Sure, he goes out at night doing hood rat stuff with his friends, but who doesn't? But the point is, there's other people besides consumers using this data, and they're using it for work. Okay, I know a lot of you are enthusiasts, a lot of you train, which is awesome, but some people, they have jobs and have to use the guns for their jobs. And if you had to use something for your job all the time, you kind of want to know how it works with silencers. If you feel me? So a really great thing about that in general, when you take a step back as a consumer, you start to thinking about this stuff. A really great thing about that is in the silencer game, a lot of things that start out for the military filter their way down into consumer tech. They filter their way down to law enforcement, and then they filter their way down into consumer tech. And this is one of the reasons why the United States has such advanced silencers. I believe a major reason is because of our military and them chasing the technology, and consumers end up getting it later. I mean, I think that's not just with guns and silencers. You see it with, stuff with, in the space race with NASA and technology coming out of that. It just is what it is. When there's government money behind R&D, you get trickle down tech. Okay? Now, do we want Terminators running around our house, attacking our children like pit bulls attack toddlers? Maybe not. Is that a consequence of, do you have to break some eggs to make an omelet? Yes. Are your children going to be murdered by robots? I don't know. We're not going to talk about that today, but I'm telling you that's just a tangent that one could, surmise. So, in looking for a new 5.56 test host, the 14.5 inch barrel M4, it was a strong candidate. Okay? Am I trying to convince you of something in this topic? No. But I am trying to explain my logic to you. I'm not trying to convince you of anything. I'm just trying to explain what I've already convinced myself of. Just so you know what's going on in my head, okay? That's the whole point of this podcast. It is called The J Situation after all. So, from my head to your ears, when you say M4, I love that term. When you say M4, there are a lot of things to think about. And, sure, it's less than 16 inches, and it's not a 12.5. And it's certainly not an 11.5. Well, it's not 13.7. What a weird number that is. It's 14.5. Probably. You're talking strict military or law enforcement use. You're not in NFA violation danger when you're military or law enforcement. those arbitrary rules only apply to private individuals in the United States. It's not logical, but it is the current reality. 14.5, yeah. Even you say, nonetheless, despite these strange laws of shorter than 16 inches, nonetheless, a 14.5 makes a lot of sense. It's longer than 10.3, so we get more complete combustion. It matches fielded length for military and law enforcement units. And they're pretty big users of silencers. So the data gains a high degree of utility, you see. And it's close to 16 inches, which is an incredibly common civilian non-NFA barrel length, right? It's non-NFA, 16 inch. Why is it 16 inches? Well, we don't have to talk about that today, but it's arbitrary, 14.5 is close to that. So a technical factor that makes the fact that 14.5 is not 16 more palatable, like to me personally, as someone who works in the field of personnel protection, is that all other things equal? A 16-inch barrel AR-15 should be less hazardous to operate than a 14.5 AR-15. It should be. Now, are there exceptions? Yeah, possibly. Is it likely? No, I think it's unlikely. I think it's probably unlikely that a 16-inch barrel AR-15 is more hazardous than a 14.5. All other things equal, I think it's unlikely. Now, will I figure out the actual difference? Yeah. Is it likely that people using a 16-inch AR-15 platform with 14.5 data will enjoy a little bit of conservatism? Yeah. I think that's likely. I think, we have a saying in engineering, conservative is good. I'll never forget one of my professors in graduate school. She was from the Midwest. She had a weird accent, but she was like, conservative is good or something. I don't know. Can't do her accent, but she was really smart and she was right. Conservative's good when you're protecting public health. Public safety. It's good. Especially when it comes to hazards. Yeah, that's important. So that's part of my reasoning. Now, at this point, you're thinking, you're listening to me talk. You're like, all right, this guy's going on and on. You might think, well, this logic is pretty easy. Sounds pretty cut and dry, Jay. Pretty simple. But here's where you would be wrong about it being simple. Here's where you're very wrong. With the Mark 18, we actually had less complication than this. And I don't know that a lot of people understand this, so I'm going to try to explain it. With the Mark 18, we had less complication. It had been fielded for such a long time, and it was so chic and sexy and just like, just the high-speed, low-drag guys with it, right? The gas port size, the configuration, everything about it had been examined and tested by labs, highly publicized. Everyone and their mom wants it. There just wasn't an argument against the particular configuration. And not only that, the barrel's so short that the carbine length gas system just made sense for it. And so there weren't any NFA concerns for private citizens because no matter what, everyone knows that 10.3 is way shorter than 16, so you know what you're getting into. You're like, straight away, you're like, well, that's an SBR. There's no ambiguity. It's short. It's a shorty. Super short SBR. And, brace or stock notwithstanding, whatever. You knew what you were getting in. You knew you're getting into shorty territory. You knew what you were getting when you went Mark 18. You knew that. Okay? So what I'm saying is like the pushback and opinions of a Mark 18 being a Mark 18 were minimal. I know everyone and their mom wants to show off their Mark 18 that's not really a Mark 18. But what I'm telling you is, when you talk about a real Mark 18, someone arguing with you and telling you it's not, it's hard. It's so, it is so standardized, right? So, I'm saying this from like a 10,000-foot view looking at the industry, looking at the users, looking at the history, looking at the state of practice. Are there people who hate it? Are there people who hate the Mark 18? Yes. There should be. You should hate it. Well, I mean, I'm not saying you should hate it, but there should be haters of it. It's important to have opinions. But even those people that hate it with a passion, they can't argue what it is. They can't argue what the Mark 18 is, and that makes the Mark 18 a powerful standard. You understand? So here we are. Yeah, that's what a standard is. You know, people ask me, "Oh, silencer sound standard. It's not a standard. We can't." No. Well, you know exactly what it is. It's a standard. Yeah, it's repeatable. It's the same. Mark 18 is a standard weapon, my friends. Now, enter 14.5. Yeah, you're sitting like, oh no, baby, what is you doing? It's like, no, you can't. 14.5, no, what? No, it's like you're almost 16 inches long, but you're not, right? You're not. No, you can fit a mid-length gas system in there, but you don't have to. Yeah, you don't have to. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. You're like, now what are you in? What are you in opinion land now? Because you weren't going to like argue to put a pistol length gas system on a Mark 18. Yeah, you're going to go carbine length. Yeah, but now you go to this 14.5. That M4, that's had a carbine length gas system for a minute. And you go to this mid length, you're like, what are you doing? You can change things up? What, you can start to debate it? I mean, a lot of people have a carbine length 14.5. Everyone has a favorite. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone has I'm just going to do this. I'm going to do this right now. It's those long talkers, you know? No, I'm serious. Everyone has their opinion on this. It's super, I'm telling you from experience, surveying actual people, like consumers, like talking to them. I spent a lot of time talking to you guys on social media, like one-on-one. I do surveys, like professional surveys with others, but I spent a lot of boots on the ground talking to consumers like myself. And I know what I hear and what I read and what I see. I see all kinds of stuff. And so I'm telling you right now, here's where PEW Science comes in. Here's where reality comes in. And here's where an executive decision comes in by me, based on not only the experience running this effort for the past 3 years, but also the physics of the system and what I think we can learn. I'm making decisions, and I'm doing this episode so I can tell you what I'm doing and why. All right. So first of all, mid-length gas. I am telling you, it is the future for suppressed 14.5 systems. That's it. All of the major manufacturers are doing mid-length gas barrels. They're all doing them, and I'm talking manufacturers. I'm not only talking about these builders. Some people, it's funny. Some people reach out to me telling me so-and-so will do so-and-so rifles for me. And I know, and look, I'm not trying to blow your skirt up. I'm not trying to how do I say this? I'm not trying to say everyone makes all the parts they use. Okay. But right now I'm talking about the big guys here. I'm talking about like Daniel Defense, FN, Geisley, PSA. Oh, he's talking about PSA. Yeah, PSA is bigger than you think it is. All these companies, they're either defense contractors or they're big enough companies that they're making a lot of their own components. Okay, and these are not gun builders, guys. I mean, they do build guns, but they're firearm manufacturers, they're weapons developers. Some of these guys, they're making their own barrels. Okay, this is not. Look. I have to use names so you understand. This is not trying to take anything away from a builder like Sons of Liberty Gunworks or somebody like that. I'm not taking anything away from people like that at all, okay? But those are gun assembly plants, okay? That is not the same thing. And I'm not talking about the size. I'm talking about what they physically do, what they make. Those guys they're not weapons developers. Sons of Liberty they're a gun shop. They're a gun builder. Okay? So when I look at the weapons developers and I see mid-length gas, I don't see it going away, dude. Okay? Especially with silencers. And we all know why. We all know why, right? You know why. You know forget about your how it looks. Think about the physics. We've talked about the reasons for this ad nauseum. It's due to dwell time. People can argue about it. But the fact of the matter is, a shorter dwell time is less gas sensitive, and you can make a longer dwell time work with a silencer, and that's not the point. Okay? No one is arguing that you can't use a really long dwell. No one is arguing you can't use carbine length gas on 14.5 with a silencer, and like if you do that, your gun's gonna blow up and not work. No. No one's arguing that. But what people are arguing is efficiency, and the AR-15 is mature enough. It's a mature enough platform now that efficiency is a priority. Okay, so midlength. The midlength gas, midlength is what we're going with for this, okay? It's my decision, and that's what we're doing. It's based on reality. It's based on the industry, where the industry is going, and that's what we're doing. And we can be stuck in the past, and we can do carbine length, but it doesn't make sense. It doesn't do anybody any favors, especially for a test host for silencers. And I know there are builders out there, and they're builders, like, okay, D. Wilson, that guy on Instagram, great guy. Met him at SHOT Show. Really nice. Great dude. Does a lot of good work. He runs a machine shop. He builds things. Okay, he's a builder. He's not a weapons developer. Don't get it twisted. He's a builder. He oftentimes gets mad because people talk about wanting short dwell time. I asked him about that in person. I was like, why are you mad about that? It's the most efficient with a silencer. He's like, yeah, but you can make it work with a longer dwell time. I was like, yeah, I know. But I can also drive a Mitsubishi Galant. I would never do that. I don't know why. I'm not picking on Mitsubishi. I was trying to think of an obscure sedan. I don't know. But I'm saying is, my point is, it's like, I drive a Dodge Stratus. No, what I'm saying is, yes, I know something can work, but if you're looking at adding dwell time to a system due to artificial blowdown enhancement from a silencer in the time regime of combustion interest, or in the time regime of interest for combustion, then why would you go carbine? Like, it doesn't make sense. This is a time-dependent phenomenon, and those physics of what I'm explaining to you, I'm not explaining something that's like, this is not Einstein, Michio Kaku, Neil deGrasse Tyson level theoretical physics here. This is well-known stuff from like gun designers and weapons developers. And I'm sorry, but just because you build guns doesn't make you an expert weapons developer. And I am not insulting any of these gun builders, but I am telling you guys, give me the technical, scientific reason to oppose mid-length gas in 14.5, and I'll speak about it with you. But you're not going to be able to convince me that for the pedigree at large, with what the major weapons developers are doing, we should go to carbine length. Okay, dead horse, destroyed. Here's another thing to talk about. Barrel length. It's hard with this. 14.5 is scary. Okay. Are we done? Are we done with dwell time? We should be. Okay, mid-length gas, 14.5. That's how it's happening. So I don't. Look, I am not averse to being wrong about that. But nobody has given me a compelling argument for going carbine length 14.5. Nobody. For suppressed small arm evaluation. Nobody. And I've heard people say things, and people that have YouTube channels, and just because someone has a YouTube channel doesn't mean they're an idiot. Okay, just don't get really upset at me and like, oh, he doesn't like you, he's horrible. Like, well, maybe I am horrible, but I'm not saying just because you have a YouTube channel you're an idiot. But I'm saying anyone can have a YouTube channel, so like, be careful. All right. Just because you make videos and talk and hey, just because I have a podcast and talking to a microphone doesn't mean I know what I'm talking about. But I'm not using that as the reason to listen to me. What I'm giving you is I'm giving you the physics. We've talked about this, right? So I think I'm gonna leave the dwell time and mid-length gas argument there. And if you want, email me. If you want to talk about it and you have a compelling argument besides the fact that there's a lot of carbine gas 14.5s out there, which actually that's the best argument. The best argument for selecting carbine length gas system is the fact that there's a bunch out there. But I think the better argument is there's going to be more mid-length. You feel me? Plus the physics argument. So that's why it wins. Okay. Now, back to barrel length. Yeah, 14.5 is scary. It's scary. Now, it's not scary if you understand the physics. It's not scary if you understand the use cases I spoke about earlier. It's one of the most logical choices for objective combustion analysis of the weapon system ever, right? But we are dealing with things that are illogical. What is not logical is it's the tyrannical laws in the United States, the ones that forbid barrels shorter than 16 inches on rifles without an inordinate amount of red tape. Okay, we all know about this. I'm not here to pontificate and go on and on about tyranny like a political pundit. Okay? But this is quite literally the definition of infringement of human rights. And it happens for no reason at all. It's no good reason, at least. Okay? So we're not going to solve that issue on the podcast. We're not going to solve that issue. I'm not going to dwell on that. But we do need to. I can't ignore it. And I did this on social media. I wanted to see what people thought. And oh boy, did I see what people thought. I got hundreds of DMs. It was a problem. Now, what you can do when you use a 14.5 inch barrel, what you can do is you can pin and weld a muzzle device to get to a 16 inch barrel length when you have a 14.5. You can register your lower receiver as a short barrel rifle. And then you can take your 14.5 upper, put it on the lower receiver, or you put it on your machine gun lower receiver, because machine gun trumps SBR in the NFA poker deck, right? So in the card deck, the poker game of NFA, machine gun trumps everything. So, well, I guess except for destructive device. No, it does. No. No, you could have both together. You could put like a grenade launcher on your machine gun. Wait, let me think about that. If you have a full auto 40 millimeter, if you have a full auto 40 millimeter, how many stamps is that? At first I thought it was just one stamp, the machine gun stamp. But then again, are they transferable? How many registrations is that? Is that 2 registrations? Is it a machine gun registration and a destructive device registration? I think it is. It's got to be, right? You know what? I should know that. I forgot. I don't have any in my inventory, so I concede I need to look at the NFA handbook. But anyway, NFA handbook is very good. Read it. Yeah. Suffice to say, there are ways to deal with the fact that 14.5-inch barrels are not 16-inch barrels. There are ways to deal with that. It's not up to PEW Science how you deal with that issue. That's a personal problem, and I offer no legal advice except don't get caught doing something illegal. That's my only advice to you about that is never get caught doing something illegal. Okay, yeah. Is that how I'm wording the sentence? That's exactly how I'm wording that sentence. All right, just don't get caught doing something illegal. Oh, where's he putting the comma? Is he putting a period there? No. It's one sentence. Don't get caught doing something illegal. Okay. Wink, wink. No. All that being said, I will let's say for whatever personal reason, you're not going to use a 14.5-inch barrel AR-15 for whatever reason. Okay, if you're using a 10.3 or a 10.5, guess what? You have Mark 18 data, so congratulations. If you're using a 12.5, well, guess what? You're going to have Mark 18 data and 14.5 data, so maybe you can interpolate. I'm not saying you can. I'm saying you can. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be perfect. I'm saying let's see. We don't know. Let's see. Okay? If you're using a 16-inch barrel, well, we already talked about you. You already have a conservative answer. What if you're using an 11.5? I don't know. Maybe we do a couple of spot checks. You see where I'm going with this, though? You have options. See, so that 14.5, that's a problem. That's not. See, this isn't a Mark 18 situation. People get really bothered about this part. It's so close to 16. You see, isn't that weird? So that's a very interesting thing, but we're going with it. So I just want to let you know. But it is definitely talked about. Like it's so close to 16, it gets controversial. Okay, you see, it's important for you to understand how people perceive things, because some of you do as well, and some of you might not see things from other people's perspectives, which is like it's difficult to do that, and it's really important though that you need to learn how to do that. So, especially for an effort like this. Now, let's talk about the rest of the system. What are we doing with the buffer and the spring? It's an AR. You know how this works. What are we doing with the buffer and the spring? Well, I'm going to keep it simple for you. We're probably going to do H2 buffer and carbine spring, the carbine buffer spring. Why? Same reason we did it with the Mark 18, because it's the most common armor configuration. All right. Are we going to do more surveys to confirm? Absolutely. Based on experience, do we already know the answer? Pretty much. I talked to Daniel Defense today about it for a while, actually. H2 and carbine spring is pretty dang common for machine guns and silenced weapons. Just want to tell you that. Okay. Now, what are we doing with the gas port, guys? Well, so far it seems, remember the Mark 18 was 070. This is going to be 076. It's probably what we're going to do. It's 6 thousandths bigger than the Mark 18 gas port. The port's further away from the chamber, right? Kind of makes sense that you'd need a little bit bigger, even though your dwell time's longer. Yeah, you just work that out, right? But are there other choices? Infinite. They're infinite choices, actually. Will we confirm this with armors? We will. Will the gas port be 90 degrees to the barrel axis? It will. Okay, we're trying to duplicate most common fielded configurations. Okay, now that brings me to something. What about the chamber? I just talked to a firearm engineer today. Shout out, sir. You know who you are. Does chamber influence the pressure in the system? Yes. How will we control this? How will we control this inevitability? Well, this is another. Let me ask this a different way. How will we make sure that we hit system physics that are the most commonly fielded? Well, here's my vote. My vote is that we go with a prolific barrel manufacturer that does this on a large scale and does it repeatedly. That's my vote. You know who's a really strong candidate for that? Daniel Defense. Why? They make a lot of barrels, dude. They make a lot of barrels. Are they different than, Faxon? Yeah, I'd say they're different than Faxon in a lot of ways. Are they different than Noveski? Yeah, they're a lot different than Noveski, actually. Does it matter? Well, it can matter, sure. Now, does it matter for testing? Probably. The only way I'm going to be able to know that is do some internal testing and examine some complicated parameters. Now, it's likely that the M4A1 barrel, like a Mark 18 barrel, will be a standard. It's likely. Does this mean this is a Daniel Defense driven requirement? Absolutely not. Does it mean we are chasing the highest degree of standardization and data utility? Yes, it is what it means. Will it make the data not applicable to you if you don't have a Daniel Defense barrel? Well, no. No, but knowing a standard is a standard, like the Mark 18, is powerful. It's a powerful statement. It's a powerful thought. It's a powerful sentiment. It's a powerful realization, something to come to terms with, okay? This is the silencer sound standard. Deviation, for deviation's sake, is a poor path forward. Okay. It behooves us all to know exactly what we're doing. It's very important to know exactly what you're doing. Do not get lost in the forest of confusion. You will be in the forest of confusion. You will not, it's like, okay, you know what the forest of confusion is? You ever driven on an interstate and all of a sudden there's trees on the side, flanking the side of the interstate and everyone slows down? That's the forest of confusion. Why? Well, human beings actually, when your peripheral vision is like crowded by stuff, you slow down subconsciously. It's just psychological. The point is, you're gonna get lost if you don't know where you are. That analogy had nothing to do with guns. Me and my buddies always use the term forest of confusion driving north of Houston through Conroe. Just because you get to that spot and you're like, how come everyone's slowing down? They're stupid. You're like, well, they're not stupid. They're just hurt. They're hurt animals. They're in their cars and they don't know why they're slowing down, but they know they're going to. You're just not as advanced as you think you are, and that's why that happens. But yeah, it behooves us to know exactly what we're doing, and it's so much so. This is so important. I actually discussed this with Daniel Defense on the telephone today. We spoke. We actually discussed a regular maintenance program for test hosts, like in which like I send my Mark 18 to them so like they could inspect everything, just make sure everything's within tolerance and spec, just to make sure with wear items, just to make sure we're staying in spec. That's how much this matters. I think to the effort, that's how much this matters to me. That's how much I care about this. Okay? I don't know who else is doing that. I don't know of any other test labs in small arms that are doing things like that. Now, I'm not saying there aren't any, but I'm saying I know how serious this is. I know how visible it is. I know how important this is to a lot of people, and I take it seriously. I take this very seriously. When we calibrate instrumentation, we actually have we have calibrated calibrators, and I have calibrated my calibrated calibrators in the field during field calibration of calibrated calibrator calibration. I am telling you, we go the extra mile so you don't have to guess if it's right. And if you care a lot, you're going to attract people that care too. And that's why PEW Science is awesome, because of all of you, because you're awesome. It's symbiotic, okay? We can't afford to have something unknown influence test results. We're creating the standard, so let's be the standard. Be the standard you want to be, okay? And I'm passionate about this. What am I just talking about on this bullet point here? I'm talking about the chamber, whether the chamber matters. How am I even going to begin? I'm going to gauge every chamber? No, I'm going to get a reliable, repeatable product from a weapon developer and use it. And I'm not going to go to Tom, Dick, and Harry's gun shop in downtown whatever and have them build me a fighting rifle for fighters. No. God bless those guys making blasters for blasting individuals or whatever their slogan is. That's awesome. More power to them. They're arming the populace. I'm not in the business of that. I'm in the business of getting real science done for the masses in a good way. That's my business. My business is getting the data to in the best possible way for humanity to have it forever. That's what I'm in the business of. Okay. So that's the long and short of why I'm doing what I'm doing with the 14.5. He's crazy. We need future applicability. That's mid-length gas. We need conservative results. That's shorter than 16. We need a more complete combustion profile. That's longer than 12.5. Okay. And finally, we need a quality host. It's probably Daniel Defense. I'm not saying it is 100%, but it's probably them. Now, are they pinning and welding their barrels for civilians? Yeah. Will that change? Well, I don't know. I mean, on the separate uppers they're selling, I'm told by some Daniel Defense employees internally, and boy, howdy, have I talked to a lot of those this week. And they're a gigantic company. I'm told by some of those employees internally, I'm told they're trying to change that, the pin and weld nature of their uppers they're selling. You can buy the barrel that's not pin and welded, but right now the uppers and the complete guns, the 14.5s, are all pin and welded. Now, okay. So for now, all mid-length gas, 14.5 uppers and firearms at Daniel Defense being sold are pinned. That's so they don't become NFA items. So there's not even a SKU for products that aren't pinned right now, this moment, on February 21st, 2023. Okay. If I buy one like that, that is pinned. Will I have it drilled out? Yes. Okay. There are tons of PEW Science member companies who can do it for me. D. Wilson, he's not a member of PEW Science, but he can do it. He's great at it. I spoke highly of him earlier on the podcast. Just so we're clear, he's a great guy. He can do it. He does great work. I wouldn't use him because I'm going to use Trajectory Arms because they're a PEW Science member. So they literally put their money where their mouth is and support PEW Science every month as a corporate member. Shout out Trajectory Arms. Okay, we'll cross that bridge when we get there, guy. Or Bear Arms. Bear Arms is another one in town. They can do it. They're So I got PEW Science members coming out of the wazoo wanting to help consumers and I have one PEW Science member. He's not even he's a consumer member that's kind of trying to do some firearm stuff on the side. This dude offered to build me a gun. PEW Science members helping so much. Okay, so yeah, what I'm saying is, if we need to remove a pin and welded muzzle device, yeah, dude, I got it. I've received 1,000 people telling me, well, you should use this. Now, did I ask that in my story, and that's why people responded? Yes. Was that my bad? Yes. So I'm not blasting you guys for like telling me, but yeah, I get it. Like Trajectory, you know how many people told me to send something to Trajectory Arms or D. Wilson for pin and weld removal? Hundreds of people. Like, oh my goodness. I don't know how much. I don't know. Maybe look, if I was just doing this for like money or something, maybe I would be a machinist and like learn how to like thread barrels and drill pin and welds. I don't know how much these guys are making, but it's got to be insane. Because the amount of work these guys have is crazy. Like, if you're seriously, if you don't know what you're going to do and like you're looking for a job and, maybe you're in the trades and you're like, I do like machining. Why don't you just like learn how to use a lathe and a drill press like really well and thread barrels and drill out pin and welds? If you do a really good job, high quality, communicate well, and market yourself on social media, dude, you probably retire. You probably just do that. I can tell you right now, there are people doing that. They're making a lot of money. So I hope someone out there like finds their passion. If like you're into threading stuff, it doesn't seem like super fun to me, but hey, I'm not a machinist, so is what it is. What was I saying? Oh, right. If I need it, if I buy something that's pin and welded, I'm gonna remove it. Okay. Now, I'm gonna cross that bridge when we get there. When we get this going, I do want to tell you this is very important. Please listen to me when I say this. There is no need for you to own a Daniel Defense rifle. Okay. The need is for you to understand what's being tested. Then, and only then, will your knowledge be all-powerful as intended, okay? I want you to be all-powerful. I don't want you to think I'm trying to sell you something. That's dumb. Okay, if I wanted to sell you something, I would have been doing that for years, and I'm not. So, I'm not a salesman. I find it boring, okay? So I hope that explains 14.5 land. We'll see how fast we can get there. It's been a time, as they say. It's been a time. Topic 2, a time of 53 minutes and 25 seconds. How am I doing? I got to go pick up the dog. Let's see. I need to eat dinner too. Mrs. PEW Science is out of town. She had a flight early in the morning. We were at the hospital. Bless her heart. She's so tired, I'm sure. Man, I don't know how we're doing this, but we're doing it. Topic 2, first quarter 2023. I am telling you, it's swamped. We're super swamped, super productive. I want to give you an update. All right. Let me get a drink of water 1 second. I give these updates because this is a public research cooperative too, and you deserve to know like what your contributions go to help. I just want you to know I'm not just because I don't publish something doesn't mean I'm not working, to help you. I think that's important. Like I think some organizations where people donate money, like they don't really know what the organizations are doing with the money. So that's like one of the reasons I do these podcasts. I want you to know that I'm a real person and I am doing things. So we did have some pretty major frustrations actually last month due to weather. It was hard, and so and the fourth quarter 2022 was hard because it was just excessive workload. so much analysis. And then like it kind of burnout happened a little bit. Got it done. Most of the time, PEW Science actually does a lot of testing in January. Like for the past 3 Januaries, we've done a ton of testing. And that didn't happen this year. And we fought the most insane weather, and there were scheduling issues due to other stuff. So it's like multiple things. It's like, anyway, there's a lot of things that have to line up to get a really big test program done. And we had some big ones to do. And that was one of the issues. We have these really big test programs, and that there's a lot of moving parts that have to like lock in like a key and a lock for those to happen. And so all this to say, to get out there recently and not only successfully complete some test programs, but just get amazing results with like amazing programmatics, amazing quality, just really getting back on the horse and getting out there and doing a lot. That was awesome. Huge win. Like, like sometimes you're down at, it's halftime. You're like, your team's kind of like, and you just come out and you're just like, your next drive is just amazing. That's what it felt like. It was like, yes, what's up? What is up? You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I'm in the thick of it right now. Really neck deep in analysis. I do not think I'll be publishing anything for you this week. There's no time. Like, there's physically no time. The dog's sick. I'm recovering from illness. I put us way too behind with other work. All the analysis work going on. It's just one of those times you're just going to have to be patient with me. There's way too much happening. I will say, the recent testing I performed, super interesting. Several test programs, several things tested I've never even seen or shot. Kind of stoked. Digging through the data so far. Really clean. Already talked to some of my clients about it. I love when a plan comes together. You get really good, clean data, especially when the test session's clutch, when the team rallies. You got your difficulties, but you get it done. I love victory, man. It's like winning is one of my favorite things to do. I love winning so much. And it's like we won so big in the field. I'm so happy about that. Like, I can't express to you how happy I am to win. Winning is like when you, and the reason I like okay, now listen, I know that sounds weird, but the reason I like winning so much is because you put in the effort to do it. So I guess I like success. I like having success due to consistent effort that's purposeful. That's what I like. That's how I define winning. When you put in, I'm not talking about luck. I'm talking about you make your own luck. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I like. Make your own luck. Put in that work and you succeed and you get that, you get it done. That's winning, dude. And that's awesome. So I want to talk about expectations though. Now, you're going to expect more of the same. Data production be semi-regular. It's just that right now there's some big test programs taking up analysis time, more so than usual. I'm working through it. I don't know how much of it's going to be public, but we'll see. Now, I want you to know your requests have been heard by many companies, and those companies are actively engaged with PEW Science, and it's kind of amazing. And I really can't give you more details than that due to my policy, but stay tuned is one, fam. Okay, just good or bad results. I'm just telling you. Consumer demand for PEW Science data to companies is real, and it does work, and there are very large companies testing with PEW Science because of that. And we have really great conversations about it, and it's awesome. It's awesome. So, I'm telling you, you guys, it's because of you guys. It's because you ended up seeing that this information was good. And then other people saw that it was good too. And here we are. Now, shifting gears, this other small topic I wanted to touch, the Hearing Protection Act. Did you see that, dude? It's back on the table somehow. I don't know how. I never in a million years, but what I think they would try it again. But the only reason I knew that this was coming is because somehow I'm still subscribed to the ARFCOM newsletter, and it was in the subject line. Okay, it was in the subject line of the newsletter. So I ended up going to this ARFCOM general discussion thread. So it's like, oh God, why? No, I did though, because it was linked in there, and I saw people speaking about the Hearing Protection Act. I chimed in, actually. I was like, I introduced myself, like, hey, I'm Jay, I talked to a lot of consumers, and I'm, last time this happened, yada, yada, I wanted to know what people thought about it, because my initial thoughts were, I remembered when they introduced the Hearing Protection Act, the American Suppressor Association, the ASA, that lobbying group, they championed this thing as the end of silencer regulation by the NFA and no more tax stamps and blah, blah, blah. And the amount of publicity was so huge, it actually ended up affecting sales of silencers, because people wouldn't buy any due to some kind of hope that the HPA was going to pass. It was interesting. And I, talking to the people in the silencer industry at the time and talking to the people that were there at the time working in it, they were like this. It was a nightmare. It's interesting to think about the people that sell silencers. I don't really think about it from that perspective until I speak with them about it. And I was like, oh, wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I mean, people just wouldn't buy anything, and they weren't pulling the trigger. And of course, the HPA definitely didn't pass, and companies definitely lost revenue. And I thought about that. I was thinking about it, and I wondered. I was like, man, is this going to happen again? But then, of course, typical ARFCOM, some realists chimed in. They're like, well, they're like, you know what? I don't think so. I think people are older and wiser. They know it's a pipe dream. People saying, I was like, that's fair. I would tend to agree. Somehow, I don't think turning off a $200 per item revenue stream is going to happen. And by the way, there are also complete businesses based around the fact that the items are regulated. There's that, right? I'm not saying those businesses are in on the regulation to keep it going. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it is technically in some businesses' best interest for silencers to still be regulated by the NFA. You feel me? So, I mean, if I was a betting man, which I'm not, but if I was, I would not bet on the HPA passing, the Hearing Protection Act passing. I don't think so. It's just not something I think is likely. Now, all that being said, this whole SBR thing with the braces, that's interesting. Like, I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. I think, like, my gut's telling me it's like, could that theoretically have some ramifications for silencers down the line? If something, depending on what happens with this, is like maybe it will, right? So we'll see. I guess we'll see. I'm not an attorney. I'm an engineer and consultant. I'm a scientist. I'm not an attorney. It's not my thing. I work with attorneys. I'm not a legal scholar. I don't have the chops. I don't have the background. I couldn't tell you. Okay, but I like guns, so I'm paying attention. I just don't know, like, the briefs that, we just filed this brief against, and we, like, Firearms Policy Coalition just posted something tonight. They're like, we just did this in the brace thing. I'm like, I see it. I'm like, okay, I see you're doing something. I think that means you're taking action. I think you're using people's money effectively. I think. But, like, I'm not an attorney, right? And I don't see, like, the long-term play. So I'm like, wait, it's like, is what you're doing something that is necessary to lay the groundwork to fight something, or are you tying up the opposing team's money or something? Because, like, I know you're not going to fight them on money. This is the government, right? So, like, you're not going to win that part. So, okay. So, like, are the things they're doing leading to meaningful outcomes? And they might be. I just don't know enough to, like, give a definitive conclusion about that, is what I'm trying to tell you. Okay? But what I am trying to tell you is that the HPA passing, no, son. I would not bet on that, dude. If it does, it's going to be awesome. But waiting for it, I think you're going to miss out on getting some cool stuff, because I think you're going to be waiting a while. All right. Topic 3 at a time of 1 hour. 4 minutes and 37 seconds. Okay, topic 3. Oh, yes. Shout out to Detective D in Kansas. I got a handwritten letter from this gentleman, and it means so much to me. It means so dang much. I'm not going to read it on the podcast. I don't believe in doing that. It's too personal. But it's not the first time I've received such a thing, and it means a lot to me that there's people out there that see I care, so they end up caring and showing they care. I am a firm believer in that. I think it's symbiotic. I think I said this earlier. I think it's symbiotic in the way that truly heartfelt and caring individuals band together in life. I think that you just find each other, dude. It's like with everything, right? It's like bad people surround themselves with bad people, and good people, they find the good people. I've seen that, man. I'm telling you. It took me a while to figure it out, but yeah, I don't think it's an accident that people like this cross paths. I think it's a product of the environment. I think it's a product of the environment we foster and create for others. I think positivity and honest hard work, it rubs off. What's another cliche? Cream rises to the top. I think it's important, right? And he gave me some patches here. His daughter, he says, what did he say in the letter? He said, he said, I wanted to share some fun patches my oldest daughter designed. She wanted to poke fun at me since I've been interested in night vision. Yeah, it's hilarious, and they're really cool. They're awesome. And one of them says, I'm going to read it. It's cool. It says, you will look better than all of your friends. And it has a unicorn with a night vision, like helmet with like night vision over its eyes. And it has like a suppressed AR and holding it up. And the unicorn has like a thought bubble coming up. And it says, I'm so cool. And then it says, super cool night vision club. SCNVC. Super cool night vision club. You will look better than all of your friends. Yeah. So he sent me 2 of those patches. Awesome. And then the other one she designed says it's a shield, and it says in big letters, "Enablers United," and it has like a guy with nods reaching down to with his hand to help a damsel in distress from the below, and it says helping others achieve your goals at any cost. Basically, she's making fun of her father and all of us for spending an inordinate amount of money on ridiculous things, and frankly, the child is correct, so we can't really fault her, but yeah, I do hope that's really great. He gave me 2 of those, one for the wife. Mrs. PEW Science is going to love one of the unicorn ones. That's great. I hope that your daughter, sir, I hope that she sells a lot of these. I hope she makes a lot of money doing it. I encourage her to do so. I don't know if she listens to the podcast, but do tell her from me, please encourage her entrepreneurial spirit and help her to sell these, because I know people are going to want to buy those. I would. So, I wanted to say another thing this guy said in his letter. He said, he told me a short anecdote about how he mentioned the effort to one of his friends that works at a major silencer company, and his friend wasn't nearly as enthusiastic as he was about the effort. It's funny how that works. But sir, if you're listening, and I know that you are, because you told me you've been listening from the beginning. Thanks for the kind words. Keep fighting the good fight. I'm going to continue to enable your irresponsible spending habits. We're all sick for it, man. We're all sick for this stuff, and that's the way it's always going to be. Okay, so I just wanted to dedicate this topic to you, man. That's why I thank you. So I think some people get annoyed when I do that, but I think it's so cool. Like you guys are, I can't stop thanking you. I can't wait to show you guys the new data I gathered and a new analysis I've been working on. It's really neat. I've tested some really neat silencers, and actually some have performed better than I thought they would, given what the technology was. So that's interesting. I think it'll be good data points. I think maybe some people will be surprised, which was cool. Yeah. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go pick up my dog from the hospital. I bet she's super scared, and I'm very excited to bring her home. So thank you for tuning into the podcast. Don't forget to spend time with your loved ones. I'm going to keep on trucking. I hope to bring you guys some more cool articles in the near future. Thank you for your patience. And thank you all again for listening. I will talk with you folks again soon. Okay, bye.